A study into the city's energy use has been completed at the University of Otago. It was commissioned by the Otago Chamber of Commerce and carried out by Dr Cle-Anne Gabriel of the Centre for Sustainability. She joins us now to discuss the results. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
What did you look at with the study?
What we were trying to find out, what we were trying to do was to quantify the energy that comes into Dunedin City. So we were basically counting how much of electricity, coal, wood, and some transport fuels that are coming into the city on an annual basis. And we used 2014 as the base year for that.
Who else was involved in the research?
Well, as you mentioned, the study was commissioned by the Otago Chamber of Commerce and the Dunedin City Council in partnership with the Centre for Sustainability. So together with Dr. Janet Stevenson and Professor Jerry Carrington, who are also of the Centre for Sustainability, we sort of worked on collecting the data and analyzing it, and also just trying to get as much information out of local businesses and energy stakeholders as possible, really.
Tell us about some of the key findings.
Well, I think what sort of stood out most of all was that about 58% of the energy that's coming into the city is actually just from petrol and diesel. And that's what we're using for transport. And then 31% is electricity, and then we've got very small percentages of coal and LPG, etc. But I think what's most important for the city going forward is the finding that about less than 0.1% of that energy is actually generated within the city's boundaries. So in terms of long-term sustainability and in terms of energy autonomy, that's something that we really need to think about going forward.
Any particularly surprising results?
Oh, I wouldn't say it's surprising. I think most of the findings were pretty much on par with what we're seeing throughout New Zealand. I think where we might find some surprises would be at the next stage, which is when we really get into the nitty-gritty of energy use. What are people actually using energy for and why? And that, I think, is where we may find more sort of surprising or unexpected results. Yeah.
How will the information learned in this study be utilised?
Well, I'm hoping that it's repeated year after year. So as you mentioned, it was just a baseline study. So this was the first year, 2014. And what needs to happen next is that every year from now on, we sort of need to continue measuring how much energy is coming in, and that would then be able to be used for policy making and understanding where to next in terms of energy use and sustainability in the future.
Were there any challenges in collecting this research?
Oh, there were lots of challenges. One that comes to mind at the moment is finding information on the petrol and diesel use in Dunedin. Was quite hairy. But one solution that we came up with was to look at tax data. So I was able to sort of go back and look at the taxes that were paid on petrol and diesel for last year, and then we were able to extrapolate from there. So that challenge has been overcome to some extent, I suppose, yes. Was
there anything that you weren't able to find out?
We still do not really know how much wood is being used as fuel in Dunedin. And I suspect that that's mostly because much of the wood that's used for heating, for example, is self-collected. So people who are going to the forest and cutting their own logs for heating. And there needs to be some work done, I think, around that to sort of get a firm understanding of what our use and consumption of wood energy is.
Dr Cle-Anne Gabriel from the Centre of Sustainability, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Rebecca.